Good morning, friends, and welcome to the pre-market view. US markets were lackluster. There were no major triggers, and the results season, which is undergoing there, had mixed picture as technology firms disappointed, with Microsoft, Google both actually reported slightly weaker set of numbers, and Microsoft in particular was weak and down almost about 11%. However, the financial space continues to do very well, and some of the companies have announced good set of numbers. So there was positive action in the financial and banking space. European markets were flat to marginally negative, no major data points. And when we look at the Asian markets today morning, Nikkei is down a little, and China is also flat, but the rest of the Asian markets are slightly up. Despite the continuing ruling party's landslide victory in Japan, with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe getting the majority in the upper house also, the Japanese markets have surprisingly not shown any positive reaction to that, because there was an expectation that once Mr. Shinzo Abe is able to gain control over the upper house, he could actually continue the momentum on the financial reforms front, and that could help the liquidity and the sentiment. But today morning we are not seeing any major impact of that. Also, China on Friday had actually done away with certain controls on the lending rates, and the floor of the lending rate has also been removed. But the Chinese markets too are not reacting significantly to those developments. In terms of flows, friends, FIs were net buyers to the tune of about 254 crore in the cash market. The domestic institutions were sellers to the tune of about 229 crore. And in the F&O markets, FIs were net buyers in the index futures to the tune of 514 crore. Our markets too were slightly weak on Friday, with banking names showing a bit of a correction, particularly some of the private sector banks like Axis Bank, Yes Bank, IndusInd Bank had seen some amount of weakness, and we are not seeing any major uptick, though the market has stabilized around about 6,000, 6,050 levels. On that note, let me invite Shaival to take us through important F&O cues, data and strategies that we can have in the F&O markets.
Good morning, friends. Let's have a view at derivatives. Friends, from past couple of trading sessions, we have been observing that markets were unable to surpass the hurdle of 6,000 on the higher side, and finally it closed above that. And it's 2 days that markets have been sustaining above this level. Now we have seen some long positions been taking place in the market above the mark of 6,000, as around 1.44 lakh shares have been added in open interest, with an increase in the cost of carry. Also, we have seen that the PCR ratio has cooled off marginally from 1.34 to 1.31, but focusing on the implied volatility, we have seen that for second day in a row it has cooled off by say around 1 to 5%. And on the options front, we have seen that 6,100 put option, which is currently in the money, has seen good amount of activity taking place, whereas on the put side, 6,000 and 5,900 put option has seen a good amount of activity, and on higher side 6,200 and 6,300 call option has seen good amount of activity in terms of open interest. Now as market have been stuck between this range of 6,000 and 6,100, and we have seen that for 2 days in a row above the mark of 6,000 long positions have been accumulated. So from intraday perspective, this level might act as a good support for the market. And as we are trading above our weekly VWAP, that is also 6,000, a bias for the market is positive. The lower range would remain 6,000, and on higher side 6,100 would be an target from weekly perspective. From intraday perspective, Ultratech Cement is looking good. One can go long with stop loss of 1908.60. Thank you.
Here are the important news and events that we are tracking today. First of all, the companies which will be announcing numbers. L&T, we are looking at a net profit of about 911 crore. It remains to be seen what kind of operating profit margin the company reports, because if the operating profit margins are substantially below 10%, then the market could react negatively. We've seen L&T actually reporting a good order inflow over the last 2 quarters, so that is also something that the market would be watching out for. Asian Paints, we are looking at a net profit of about 316 crores. Some of these stocks like Asian Paints, Sun Pharma have been hitting 52-week highs, and last quarterly numbers were not good, so this time around market would be keenly watching out for that number. And ING Vaishya Bank, the PAT number that the market is looking at is about 169 crore. Reliance also came out with numbers on Friday, and operationally the numbers were weak as the net sales of the company actually declined quarter on quarter, and though the GRMs were more or less in line with market expectations at about $8.4 per barrel, Petchem margins actually disappointed because there was an expectation that that segment would actually report slightly better set of margins. So overall, the entire profit or the growth in the profit actually came from the treasury gains, and the operational numbers were not too impressive. Also, a couple of announcements have been made by Reliance Industries, particularly with respect to that KG-D6 basin, where the company is looking at investing about $6.5 billion to bring back the production to almost about 60 MMSCMD by 2019-20. With the help of a couple of new findings that they have done over the last 3 or 4 months. Also, the company is looking at investing about $5.1 billion, almost about 30,000 crore in the next 3 years in the US shale gas business, which will take the total investment to almost about 10.8 billion. So these are a couple of developments which are definitely positive. More importantly, with the new gas pricing that the company is likely to get, the overall sentiment towards Reliance Industries has turned a little positive. In terms of other company related news, Wockhardt has received a warning letter from the US health regulator over its facility in Waluj in Maharashtra. There has been some negative reaction to Wockhardt because of the import letter, and now the company has also got this warning from US FDA, which is definitely a bit of a negative for Wockhardt. And in case of IOC, the cabinet approval for its divestment is likely over the next week, and few merchant bankers have been appointed. This is definitely a bit of a negative for IOC, as the pricing for the divestment we have seen in the past that is always a little lower than the current market price. Also, the way the crude price and the rupee has moved, OMCs are not doing well, so this is a bit of negative actually for IOC. In another development, Anil Ambani and his wife will have to appear in the court as a witness in a 2G case relating to Swan Telecom, as the CBI has put in a plea for about 13 witnesses. So expect some negative reaction to the Anil Ambani Group stocks in today's market. Also, there has been some more uncertainty about Jet Etihad deal, though the FIPB meet is lined up on 29th of July. SEBI has actually raised few queries on the kind of management control that the Etihad will have because of the kind of clauses which have been incorporated in the agreement. So definitely Jet counter could remain a bit volatile with a negative bias. There have been reports that the ready-made garment sales has bounced back after about 2 years of flat growth. They've reported about 10% kind of a growth in the last quarter. And some of the companies which would be positively affected by this are Arvind and Aditya Birla Nuvo and Future Retail. So expect some positive reaction in these stocks in today's market. And Mozambique invite rail line bids for 4 companies which have evinced interest in setting up a railway network in Mozambique, a development that could help Coal India in transporting the output from its twin mines in the African nation. So some positive reaction in Coal India on the back of this development. Coming to the company specific ideas, Shobha Developers sales booking has shot up by almost about 26% to about 603 crore in the April to June quarter of this fiscal. So one can go long on Shobha with a stop loss of 315 and a target of about 331 to about 337. And Titan Industries, some positive news again, as the company is set to expand its strategic partnership with Japanese company Seiko. As part of this agreement going forward, Titan would be supplying the stainless steel cases to Seiko to meet their global demand. So one can go long on Titan Industries with a stop loss of 255 and a target of about 269 to 274. That's it from all of us, friends. Have a great trading session and see you tomorrow at the same time.